Cargo hauling is one of the oldest professions in the game and has gone through a few iterations over time. From cargo being solely managed through the terminal and magically appearing in your ship, to now physicalized boxes that can be moved by hand, it's probably one of the most fleshed out, albeit simple, game loops in Star Citizen. For many new players who dream of the more peaceful life in the verse, as I did when I first started out, hauling can be a great way to relax and make some aUEC at the same time. In this video we will take a look at some of the tools you will need and be using, ship recommendations, contracts, and then go out on a small cargo run so you can see how to complete a contract from start to finish. This video is intended for newer players or people considering joining us here in the verse. However, if you are already an experienced hauler sticking around and have some more tips, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. Before we jump into ships and contracts, let's talk about the essential tools that will make your hauling life possible and much easier. First of all is the Pyro multi-tool. This is your bread and butter for small scale personal cargo management. Great for moving individual boxes around your ship, outpost or hangar. Every space explorer should have one of these as part of their basic loadout. The multi-tool is readily available from almost every shop kiosk at stations and home locations. A key thing to note is that you will need the tractor beam attachment too to make the multi-tool effective for this use. The Max Lift Tractor Beam. This is an upgrade to the multi-tool. If you're planning on moving larger boxes such as the massive 32 SCU boxes, you will need one of these. This dedicated tractor beam offers more power and range and is able to move those larger boxes that the multi-tool just isn't able to. The Max Lift is essentially a tractor beam rifle and will use up one of those rifle weapon slots, so bear in mind if deciding to take it out on missions with you. Again, the Max Lift is readily available at many kiosks, with the simplest being the cargo deck at planetary stations such as Port Tressler or Everest Harbour for example. The Argo ATLS is a must-have for any large-scale hauling operation. This is a mechanized walker with an extremely powerful tractor beam integrated into the arm. Not only is the tractor beam powerful, it has the very useful point and click style mechanic that allows you to aim at a cargo grid and send the boxes to that grid without manually moving them, which is a real time saver, especially on those larger contracts. I always carry one in my larger cargo ships where possible, and with it costing only around 75,000 aUEC, it is an absolute must for me. You can purchase the ATLS from any ship dealer such as Astra Armada in Area 18 or New Deal in Lawville and Crusader. Many dedicated cargo ships, especially the mid to high tier ones, come equipped with built-in tractor beams in the form of turrets. These are the most powerful and efficient for manipulating large cargo containers directly from your ship's interior and allow for moving cargo faster and safer than handling cargo by hand, especially when in potentially dangerous areas. Now for the fun part, the ships. While almost any ship with a cargo grid can technically haul, certain ships are purpose-built for the job, offering optimal cargo capacity and perks for using them as such. All of the ships I mention here are purchasable in-game by design, and in a few cases can be rented for the day for a very low investment. I'll give rough prices on acquiring ships as they are subject to change, but they should at least be in the right ballpark for you. If I have done a review on this ship previously, I will link those in a card above. Many of them are very early videos, so don't expect any fancy editing with these ones. Let's start off with the beginner haulers, and the first in that list is the MISC Hull A. The Hull A is possibly the most iconic beginner level dedicated hauler. With 64 SCU of cargo capacity, low running costs, and being very easy to load, this is an easy choice for those starting out as dedicated haulers. Cargo is loaded and unloaded externally onto extending spindles, removing the need to keep moving up and down a loading ramp. The Hull A can be purchased from New Deal in Lawville for roughly 1.6 million aUEC, or rented from many space station cargo decks for the day for roughly 35,000 aUEC. you will make that money back very, very quickly. And the second in the beginner list is the Drake Cutlass Black. This is a very versatile ship that doubles as a very decent hauler. While its capacity isn't massive, it's a multi-role ship with some impressive armament. When coupled with its 46 SEU of cargo capacity, side-loading doors and tractor beam, it's a great choice for people who like to do a bit of everything, especially if that means acquiring cargo in less than legal means. The Drake Cutlass Black can be bought for a little over 2 million aUEC from New Deal in Lawville, or can also be rented for the day for just under 53,000 aUEC from almost any ship rental terminal. Moving on to the mid-level haulers, and the first in this list is personally one of my favourite ships, the RSI Constellation Taurus. This is a significant step up in capacity and profitability. The Taurus sacrifices some combat utility of the other Constellation variants for a much larger cargo haul and a dedicated tractor beam. But that's not to say it can't pack a punch. The Taurus is arguably the best multi-role ship in the game and opens the door to pretty much everything you can do in the verse, barring mining and salvaging. This is a fantastic solo or duo hauler with 168 SCU of cargo capacity and a very easy access dropping cargo elevator. You can purchase the Taurus for around 7.6 million aUEC, and while it is a step up in price, the benefits make it well worth it. The Taurus is also rentable for a day from the rental terminal in New Babbage Spaceport on Microtech. And now for the second in this list, and this is a personal choice for me and one of the newer options in the ship lineup. This is the RSI Zeus CL. Now, many people may disagree with the Zeus being in this list, especially when you compare it to something such as the Argo Raft, which is easier to load and has a higher capacity. However, I chose the Zeus for those who, like me, maybe appreciate that cleaner aesthetic of ship that have released more recently, especially those who like to spend a lot of time in their ships and treat it almost like their own home in the verse. For me, the Zeus is a long-term home with its amenities, living quarters, and excellent storage options, both for personal items and its multiple weapon tracks. With 128 SEU of cargo capacity, it's by no means the largest at this level, but it's no slouch and can be more than enough for some of the mid-level contracts. The Zeus can be purchased from New Deal in Lawville for just under 6.5 million aUEC. Sadly, this one is not rentable right now. And finally, moving on to the more advanced dedicated haulers, and the first in this list, of course, is the Crusader C2 Hercules Starlifter. This is undoubtedly the king of the large-scale planetary atmospheric hauling. Massive capacity, the ability to make planetary landing deliveries, and dual ramps make it a powerhouse for organised hauling groups. The cargo bay is truly monstrous, holding an impressive 696 SCU of cargo internally. It can carry all but the largest of expert level contracts in one go. Its only real drawback is, ironically, its size and how long it takes to load. I recommend this be used as part of a group or if you have a lot of time on your hands to load it to its capacity. Either way, the profits can be huge using the C2. The C2 can be purchased from New Deal at Orison on Crusader or Astro Armada at Area 18 on ArcCorp. And our final ship of the list, and my personal favourite hauler, it is the Misk Hull C. It is not without its issues, but it more than makes up for it in profitability. This thing is truly massive and carries a whopping 4,608 SCU of cargo externally, similar to its baby brother, the Hull A. While I personally run this ship solo, I class this as an advanced hauler due to the nature of loading it. When the spindles are extended, you cannot land the ship, meaning you have to rely on the cargo services at very select stations. This means very careful planning of which contracts you pick up. This auto-loading system for the Hull C is also very prone to bugs and glitches, and you have to be very particular with how you approach it. With that in mind, I only really recommend it for the hardiest and most resilient of players. For those willing to endure the issues and learn the nuances, the profits can be enormous. The Hull C can be purchased from New Deal at Lawville for roughly 16 million aUEC. So you've got your ship and your tools covered. Now where do you find the goods to haul? All of these can be found in your mobiGlas under the contract section. As of the current patch 4.3.2, hauling contracts are split into different sections based on the amount of SEU you will be expected to carry, supply grade being the larger contracts. The list of contracts can be daunting here, but the type of contract will give you an idea on what to expect. Direct contracts require you to collect from a single location and deliver to a single location. Contracts that aren't listed as direct may require you to pick up or deliver to multiple locations and take a bit more planning on how to accomplish the mission. Then we have distances. Planetary is carrying cargo down from a nearby station down to a planet, or vice versa. Local is moving cargo from one location on a planet to another on the same planet. Solar would be moving cargo from one location in your star system to another, such as Port Tressler above Microtech to Everest Harbour above Hurston. And finally Interstellar, which currently sees you moving cargo to a station positioned near a jump point. However, this is planned to expand to actual locations in other star systems in the next patch, an example being Stanton through to Pyro. When starting out, you need to be conscious of how much SEU your ship can actually carry and plan accordingly. If a contract requires 8 SEU to be delivered, but your ship can only hold 4, you will need to plan around making 2 trips. As you take on bigger contracts, you will also need to be aware of not just how much you are carrying, but also the size of the boxes as well. To check this, you can see it mentioned in the contract description. Not all ships can carry all size boxes, even if they have the SEU capacity to do so. Take the Hull A that we looked at earlier, for example. While it can technically carry 32 SEU on each side for a total of 64 SEU, the grid is split into 4 separate plates, so you cannot just slap a 32 SEU container on the side. Each plate from the 4 can hold a 16 SEU box maximum. So how do we get those bigger contracts? And that is all dictated by your reputation level. The higher your reputation level, the larger the contract and the larger payout you can take on. Reputation increases as you complete hauling contracts and will unlock bigger and higher paying contracts as you rank up. As of the current patch, hauling is inherently profitable due to the payout, but if you want to become a true cargo machine, you need to understand how to maximize your earnings. This isn't just about finding the biggest ship and loading it up, it's about smart planning. One of the simplest methods is to stack your contracts to a single location. As you scroll through your list of contracts, try to take note of any direct-to-location contracts you come across, where they are from and where they are to. You can take on multiple contracts from the same starting location to the same finish location to maximize your profits in a single run. Pay close attention to the cargo amounts of the contracts and not to exceed the maximum your ship can carry. Another way to increase your efficiency is to live by the motto of never be empty. When I am planning, I aim to try and plan potentially 2 to 3 journeys at the same time. We take the method that we did previously of stacking our contracts, but before we set off on our first delivery, we plan a second route from our end location. For example, I may take 3 contracts that require cargo taking from Port Tressler down to New Babbage, but before I set off, I've already planned a pickup from New Babbage for delivery to Mick L2, and then another from Mick L2 back to Port Tressler. This forward planning ahead of time can increase your efficiency dramatically just by using your head a little bit beforehand. Before you know it, you'll be flying through those rep levels and unlocking bigger and better contracts. One downside to all of this is that occasionally a single box might not spawn for you, leaving the contract open despite delivering everything you were provided with. If this does happen, whatever you do, never abandon a contract. Doing so lowers your reputation level, and if you do it too much, you will be banned from hauling contracts, having to start again from the beginning with a recertification mission. This has happened to me. Trust me, you don't want it to happen to you. If you have delivered at least 1 SCU to a location, click submit and the mission will complete. Any that you haven't delivered, just leave them there and they will disappear when you log out. So let's go on a small single cargo run, and for this I will be taking out the hull A just for speed and efficiency. So you can see my process from start to finish, accepting the contract, bringing up the cargo, loading it and delivering. So here we are, I've just pulled up the MISC hull A for this one, nice, quick and easy. So we'll get this fired up, extend the cargo spindles and start loading up. So we'll just lift off a little bit, extend the cargo spindles, and you see the ship just extends out and exposes those cargo grids. Makes life so much easier not having to trudge up and down a loading ramp. So we're going to park this into a position that makes it easier to load. Now, the temptation with the hull A is to actually park sideways, which is fine if your contract, only covers one side. However, for those bigger ones, it's actually better to park backwards so you can reach both sides. There we go. Ourselves a bit closer. Excellent. And we'll hop out, choose some contracts and load them up. So we're going to open our Mobiglass with F1, head down to contracts, and you see we have the smaller grade and supply grade. Supply grade is much too large for this ship, and small grade is pretty much what we'll be looking at here. I'll only pick up one contract, but I will explain the stacking. So here we can see we have a direct planetary small cargo haul. Direct basically just means it's only going to one location. Collect stims from Port Tressler and deliver to Microtech Logistics. Now we are currently at New Babbage, so it doesn't make sense for us to fly up there just to collect our cargo. Now, taking a look at the description, I mentioned earlier about the sizes of the boxes and why that matters. Thankfully, all small grade cargo contracts will fit the Hull C and many other of the kind of beginner level haulers. But we can see the max size here of 4 SCU, not a problem. When we move into the supply grade, we see the amount of SCU increases dramatically, and so does the size of the boxes. As you start moving up into the expert level contracts, that increases dramatically as well. So my aim here is just to find a direct planetary that starts from where we are. Here we go. New Babbage International Spaceport to Port Tressler, which is directly above us. We will accept that offer. Close our Mobiglass, and now the cargo will actually be in the location's freight elevator. So if we head over here and take a look inside, we see here these contracted items. We will drag those across and bring them up. Excellent. And there we go, that is our contracted cargo. And of course, if we wanted to stack those contracts, now that we know our location, New Babbage International Spaceport, and the location we are heading to, we could troll through these small grades and keep looking for more so that we can stack them all together. Now, this does require some luck when going through. Sometimes luck is not on your side. So one of the best things that you can do from here is start planning your next route. I mean, we're already here. We're seeing a lot of contracts going from Port Tressler to another location, so we can plan our next area to go to. So we would go, for example, Port Tressler to delve in scrap salvage. We would pick that up, and then any more that match the locations. Anyway, let's start loading. So I'm going to pull out my multi-tool, pressing 5. Here we go. All we need to do, lift the boxes and drag them over to our cargo grids, and you'll see the hologram here, and it's ready to snap. So all we do is click again. There it is, ready to go. Nice and simple and easy. The tractor beam is very simple, just left click to pick up. Scroll wheel brings it in and out. And then all you have to do is just turn around. If you go too far with the distance, the tether will break and you will drop your box. So do bear that in mind, especially when you are doing this out in space and those boxes start to float away from you when the tether breaks. Now, I have also brought the ATLS out to show you as well. I think this is a very worthwhile investment. For only 75,000 aUEC, this is probably one of the best tools you can use. You can just see it's a mechanized walker that has a tractor beam for its left arm. So we're going to get ourselves into an advantageous position. Oh, the camera doesn't get too crazy. So ideally you want to be roughly halfway in between in kind of a 45-degree angle from your boxes to your cargo grid. And all we're going to do is we're going to free look, holding Z by default. And you see that the box will highlight, left click, still holding free look. We're going to look over to our cargo grid and click again. Now you can see the distance here is much farther than the Pyro multi-tool. And it's much quicker, especially when you've got plenty of boxes that you need to remove. Now that we're loaded up, all there is left to do is the delivery, so we'll travel to the location, unload the boxes, and that is job done. Lift up a bit, and for a speedy exit I generally go straight into nav mode by holding B, which is the quantum. That'll get us up to full speed much faster. We'll raise the landing gear. Perfect. Point up and boost our way out. So thankfully Port Tressler is the station above us, so we don't have too far to travel. And if your contracts fall right during the refresh, you could have 3 or 4 contracts on this hull A at one time. And if we have already queued up our contracts from Port Tressler to another location, it just makes things much more efficient. So we can drop these down and bring up the new ones immediately. So we're coming up out of atmosphere now. Now, I know some people do find the hauling game loop boring, and I can totally understand why. But for me as a solo player, the majority of the time, one of the things I enjoy is just, if I have a spare hour, hopping onto the game, doing a few hauling contracts, and knowing that I'm making some money and just relaxing with a coffee. Here we are, heading up to Port Tressler now. I'm going to drop out of nav mode to slow us down. Call for the hangar with Alt-N. And presumably... Oh, we don't have to wait today. That's nice. We'll head over to our hangar. Just up here. Now, there are plenty of different types of locations to deliver to. It's not just the space station. Sometimes they are ground-based freight elevators. And sometimes they are mining and refining facilities out further into space. So we're going to drop our landing gear now. Get ourselves lined up. Slowly drift in. Be careful not to clip the sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same as we did earlier and position myself in a position to make my life easier right from the beginning. So bring ourselves sideways, scooch up a bit, and scooch back, maybe a bit more, and drop down slowly. Engines off, we're away. We're going to pull these boxes off. and just whip them over into our freight elevator. And the final 2 boxes. Now, while these boxes may look big, they're actually relatively small in comparison. So we have a 1 SCU box, 2 SCU box, 4. There's also an 8, a 16, and the 32, which are essentially a shipping container sized cargo box that this little tool cannot handle. When using the freight elevators, make sure that everything is snapped to the grid. If it's just floating around, I don't know if it'll work in this current patch. So this is not attached to the grid at the moment, and the elevator will most likely decide not to work. So please make sure they are attached. And all that's left to do is send them down. And you will have a pop-up on the screen telling you how many of your contracts you have actually delivered. Click confirm. And that is it. Contract done. We should have a pop-up. Money should hit our accounts. And that's it. It's as simple as that. So that's everything from me, and that is my guide to hauling in Star Citizen. What do you guys think? Are you already experienced haulers? Have you got some more tips for newer players coming into the game? Are you a new player to Star Citizen looking for some help and looking for a hauling crew? Let me know down in the comments below. Let's get a conversation going. And of course, if you found yourself enjoying the video, found it helpful, found it useful, consider subscribing for more Star Citizen content from me in the future. With all of that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.